All right, back live tonight here on In Focus, and thanks for staying on. The Office of the Public Protector has received a complaint against uMngeni Mayor Pappas. It follows allegations of spousal nepotism over a tourism contract awarded to his fiance, Jean-Pierre Prinsloo. The ANC and the EFF in the province are also calling for action to be taken, and the mayor joins us now for more on that conversation. Good to have you, Mayor, and thank you very much for coming on. Just as you are announced as the premier candidate, and a complaint of this nature begins to emerge. First and foremost, I mean, as far as, I suppose, the investigations of the public protector are concerned, have they been in touch with you to request some information regarding these allegations?
Evening, Babandluli. No, they have not yet. As of this afternoon, I haven't received anything. Usually the public protector acts on some sort of evidence that's received, because obviously they get a lot of complaints from around the country, and some of them can be malicious or unfounded, and they usually require some sort of evidence to be produced in order to start an investigation. But nonetheless, if they do contact me, all the documents are ready and waiting.
As far as you can recall, in December, was there a contract approved outside of the normal processes of the municipality, which, as Mr. Mngeni puts it here, sets some kind of precedence that has never occurred in the municipality before? One, in terms of the speed in which it was done. Two, in terms of the amount that was granted to the organization that conducts similar events. And three, in terms of procurement requirements as far as, for example, things like registration of the companies and so on and so forth.
Thanks for the question. No, there was no procurement done. There was no contracts. There was none of the claims that Mr. Mngeni is putting forward are true in any regard. There was a transaction that took place between a community tourism organization, of which we have 3 in the municipality, and there are regular transactions that happen between these tourism organizations. And this is usually to support different types of events or activations that are around tourism. This particular one was in December and had gone through a number of committees, actually a number of times, to be able to make sure. It was a request that came jointly from all the community tourism organizations. And that was to support, firstly, the December program of action around marketing of the municipality, an annual event that is now taking place around a light festival, and then also a general increase for the rebranding and marketing of the community tourism organization. So the timing is of no significance, really. It just happened to be on that date and that month. But the amount is because it had been backdated. I think it was 6 or 7 months from when the first discussion actually started. It's not irregular for a municipality to support tourism organizations, and we've been, actually the contract predates me. If you talk contract, the MOU between the tourism organization and ourselves, the municipality, predates me as the mayor. All we had done is refocused resources because tourism is a low-hanging fruit in terms of job creation.
So in terms of the Light of uMngeni Festival, are you saying that figure that is attached of 100,000, is that normal amount that would be spent?
I'm not sure if the full amount went to the festival. I think the festival only got 50,000, but you'll have to check with uMngeni Tourism about that. But I know we weren't the only sponsor. There were a number of corporate sponsors. The provincial government was also a sponsor. And then there was also membership donations towards that particular event. I think the 100,000 was for broader expenditure around rebranding, but some of it definitely did go to the Light of uMngeni Festival.
And was there an inclination on your part as far as issues of conflict of interest that could possibly would have arisen here? For example, if you were to deal with a company that would be owned by your fiancé?
The company that's named in Mr. Mngeni's report was only registered in August 2023, yet his claims are from December 2021. So it's quite impossible for this company to have benefit in any way. It wasn't even registered, didn't exist at the time. But even way before that, when it came to declaring an interest, I had fully disclosed, and that's a public document, to the municipal manager and the speaker, any potential conflicts of interest way before this transaction even took place, to an organization that is owned by the community and not any particular individual. Yeah.
So as far as you are concerned, the issue of being a a manager, I suppose, of uMngeni Tourism at the time, or being a chair, sorry, of the organization at the time, would not have created a conflict?
No, not at all, particularly because the position is not remunerated. The person does not earn a salary for being that. It's a voluntary organization. And any interests were declared both by myself and Mr. Prinsloo at the time. The declaration was made to the portfolio committee, of which now the political parties are complaining about. And when it was raised at those portfolio committees, because most of the parties don't read their agendas, there was no concern. We also have municipal officials who sit as ex officio members on the board of uMngeni Tourism, considering there's that interaction between that partnership that exists there. And at no stage was this raised. So no, as far as I'm concerned, there was no money that went into my account, definitely, but any into business accounts that existed at the time. I think the timing of the allegations, as you said in your intro, are very interesting. There's a number of social media pages that have popped up with all sorts of ridiculous claims. And many of these things have been in the media already, Thabo. There are things that have been disclosed at portfolio committee meetings, at exco meetings, at council meetings. Local media has covered it and dismissed it because they've seen the documents. And all these claims, when you go back to them, including Mr. Mkunu's, no evidence has been put forward. So I'm quite ready to hand over. I see the Minister of COPTA is once again going to wade into municipalities when it becomes political. But again, the documents were provided to her office many, many months ago, and she just chose to ignore them when we put them forward.
Yeah, and let's talk about Mr. Mkunu a little bit and your relationship. He seems to suggest that he knows both yourself and Mr. Prinsloo very well. Has there been any beef between the two of you?
No, I'm not sure about him knowing Mr. Prinsloo. I think Mr. Prinsloo's time in politics or anywhere predates Mr. Mkunu. But I was a staff member for the Democratic Alliance when Mr. Mkunu was the leader. He decided to leave us, and he then joined the African National Congress and now enjoys a number of positions on boards where he gets money from. So it's interesting that he now makes noise about corruption. And I think he's even got a case that's open against him that's still outstanding, but I don't have many details about that.
Yeah. So you're saying, as far as you're concerned, you've never had a run-in with him at all. Would it be something that would maybe have to do with the broader organization, since he was a part of the Democratic Alliance and left now to be with the ANC?
Yes, besides working from him when I was working for the organization when he was the leader, Sizwe and I don't really engage with each other. I have no reason to. He's not a friend of mine in any way. But yeah, I mean, I know that he takes instruction from his masters. Otherwise, they don't feed him. And every now and again, when there's a DA-related issue, his masters poke him and tell him to go make noise. So he's making noise now for his bread, and that's understandable. That's what happens when you're a comrade in that organization. But we have to remain above the mud, and my job is to try and win hearts and minds in KwaZulu-Natal with a new type of politics, which is unaccustomed to this province.
I see now the other parties are also weighing in on this, and there are other issues that have come up. For example, one here, they're saying we recall that Pappas was once involved in a hit-and-run accident. This matter was brought to the attention of the police. He had tried to prevent KZN government from holding Operation Sukuma Sake Imbizo in uMngeni local municipality, and he failed dismally.
Well, as you see, I'm sitting in my house right now. I haven't been arrested, so clearly there's no hit and run. I'm pretty sure that's a criminal offense. And if there was a case opened and investigated and there was actually someone who went to the hospital. If you really want the details, I was provided with his the medical records were leaked to me. And I'm not sure if I can say it on air, but the guy went in there with malnutrition and constipation. And that was the biggest medical issue that he had. But no, again, at the time, I was fighting back against the provincial government who illegally occupied a stadium that belongs to the municipality. They hadn't filled out the correct paperwork. They hadn't booked the venue or paid for it. And it was actually the police and members of the Premier's office who cut the locks on our stadium. And there's actually an issue at the moment in the provincial legislature where that event wasn't approved. And there's evidence of multi-million rand that was spent on that event despite it not being budgeted for. But I know my colleagues in the legislature are dealing with that. and we're waiting for the responses from the Premier because we have evidence to prove or disprove what she says.
Yeah. Why do you think your premiership could have sparked such a reaction?
Well, if you look at the latest stats from, there was a credible polling institute, I think it was yesterday or the day before, puts the Coalition of Hope, as it's been called, that is the DA-IFP coalition at 44%, and the Coalition of Continued Decline, that's the EFF and ANC at 46%. So it's a neck-on-neck race here in KwaZulu-Natal with 7 or 8 months left until election day. And I think my coming to the stage, there's a number of issues. One, I think I bridge the gap between a generation that's too young to really take, responsibility, and a generation that is old enough to be out of touch with what South Africans or people in KwaZulu-Natal want. I communicate in multiple language, which is unusual for a person of my skin color. I'm educated in a field in which government requires, and that's town and regional planning. I've got opposition and government experience. I have worked in a municipality in a rural area as the head of government trying to deliver services in a tough environment. So I think I bring something different to politics in KwaZulu-Natal in terms of an option. And given the fact that there are so many problems in KwaZulu-Natal, with the IFP resurgent in rural areas and now more in peri-urban areas, the DA growing as well, I think that the ANC sees that there is trouble ahead and are attacking me on that regard.
Have you sat down with your planning team, with the authorities in law enforcement, to map out a possible response as opposed to marches and things like shutdowns that parties in your municipality are muting?
So there was they call it a shutdown, as you said, for tomorrow, the 2nd of October. We, this afternoon, went to the High Court. That is, we, the municipality, went there, and we won an urgent interdict to stop that shutdown. We also won it with cost. We said it would be unfair for the ratepayers and the residents of uMngeni to have to fit the legal bill against the ANC Youth League, who is a legal entity who knows the law and didn't follow the right process to apply for a march. So we're not against people marching. We're not against people having the democratic right to express themselves, but it must be done in the right way. We have security services. They are well placed to combat anything that does come along. And again, we are not against anyone protesting, but it must be done in the right way, and the rule of law must always be upheld. And that's why I myself, if the public protector comes along or Copter comes along and wants to see documents, I'm happy to provide them, because the rule of law must prevail. But we are ready for any disruptions should they occur. They've occurred in the past as politically motivated disruptions, and we've dealt with them swiftly, and they haven't come back again.
Yeah. You are categorizing this as a politically motivated smear arising, of course, from your announcement as the premier candidate for KwaZulu-Natal. What do you have for the province of KwaZulu-Natal that currently is not on offer?
So I think what I have is, firstly, an urgency to make things work. There's an insistence by sort of the incumbents that government is hard to get things done. While yes, there are resource constraints, and yes, the resources must be spread to as many places as possible, it's not impossible to actually make progress. In our municipality, we still have a lot of challenges. We've only been in government 22 months, and you don't turn it around as a grant-dependent municipality in that amount of time. But we are showing to people that you don't have to be abused by government. Government can be transparent. Government can work with you. Government doesn't have to be something that you praise and you beg for assistance, but that is there with you more times than it is not. I also think that we bring a vibrancy and an energy, and I say we, I mean the campaign team that I'm working with around myself and around the leadership. And it's an energy that hasn't been seen in KZN politics for a long time. The last thing is then hope, Thabo. We have to believe that there's going to be a better tomorrow. We can't just constantly live in fear. Fear around people taking away your grants, because that's not true. Fear around, more load shedding. Fear around all these things that are really making South Africans and the people of KZN depressed. Yeah. We have to believe that tomorrow can be better than today. And I think that's what we're going out to do. We're going to go play on our own field to say, Let us fight for hope and not this consistent decline and fear that we see.
So one publication here quotes Mr. Mngeni as saying, well, you are doing a great job compared to who? They're saying all Chris Pappas has is, as you put it, a great campaign team that is putting together a well social media marketed campaign. But there are some mayors in nearby municipalities in and around KwaZulu-Natal who are doing even better.
I'm not sure about doing better or the same, but I know that there are hardworking mayors and there are hardworking public representatives across all political parties. But the fact remains that if you stand for an organization that is hell-bent on destroying the country and the province, if you stand for an organization that is not willing to take a tough stance against corruption, if you stand and you defend an organization where there's more systematic decline than there is rebuilding, then you yourself are part of the problem. So I know IFP and ANC mayors who are trying really hard because they are decent people. But you cannot exist within a system. You cannot fight against a system when you are inside that system. In particular, I refer to the ANC councillors and mayors who might be trying to do different things. So I'm not an anomaly in trying to turn my municipality around. The difference is that I work within a framework that enables me to do that, where I don't get forced to a point, where I don't get forced to give certain contracts, and I don't get forced to consult with my region for every decision that I make.
Chris Pappas, appreciate your time as always. Thank you very much for coming on tonight. That is the uMngeni local municipality mayor, the Chris Pappas.